Okay, so here's the history of William Jennings Bryan. He is from Salem, Illinois. That's where he was born. So, like, literally, he's from right here. And right here. And he was born in 1860, and he died in 1925, which means he didn't live to be 100 years old. And he was the great commoner. Like, he was the kind of guy that got the working class behind him, because he didn't like the way people took advantage of the working class. So he was for the working class. And in 1887, William Jennings Bryan was like, to his wife, he was like, we should move to out west because I want to see how I do against the frontier. And she was like, okay. And so they go out west in 1887. And out west means Nebraska. William Jennings Bryan thought out west was Nebraska. So they're in Nebraska, and then he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to run for president. And it's like 1896. And he's like, I'm going to run for president. And everybody's like, okay, you probably should. And he was like, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to have other people do my campaigning. I'm going to do my campaigning myself. And they're like, whoa. He was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So he gets like 500 speeches, 18,000 miles he's traveled, and he's like the shit. And then McKinley beats him, and he's like, oh, fuck. So he's like, I'm going to run again. And it's like, now we're at 1900, and he runs again. And, he does the same thing, and McKinley beats him. And for some reason, he decides he's going to run again in 1908. And he loses to Taft. And then he's like, you know what? I'm never going to be president. Fuck this. So he goes and he's like, I'm going to back Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow's like, thanks, that's really cool of you. I'm going to make you Secretary of State. So, and then, he's like, but you know what's not cool? Evolution. I don't believe in it, because he was like a hardcore Presbyterian his whole life. And he was like, evolution's stupid. Or no. Evolution's stupid. And then, so he goes, and he finds out that this teacher in Tennessee, John Scopes, told his class about monkeys and evolution. And he was like, fuck no, that's not cool. So he like goes and he's like, this guy can't do that. That's against the law. And John Scopes is like, prove that I did it. I dare you. And he was like, fine, I will. And then, like, Clarence Darrow is like, you know what? Let's get him on the stand. He's stupid. Well, he gets on the stand. They use God against him and all that. And anyway, long story short, William Jennings Bryan wins. But he doesn't feel very good. Like, during the last 5 days of the trial. And then he wins and he dies. He just dies because of the trial. He's dead! And then they overturn it, and John Scopes is like, fuck you, I'm not even in trouble anymore, you know what I mean? So, like, he's dead, and they put his body on a train, and he's, like, traveling from Tennessee, I mean, because he was writing a speech because that's what he did. He always wrote speeches. And he was writing a speech, and he was going to talk about how cool he was, and then he died. So everybody, all the commoners came out to see the great commoner as he rode by on the train, and that was their final adieu to him. And that's William Jennings Bryan in a nutshell. And he's from here, Salem, Illinois. Bet you didn't know all that about him. And he was a great orator, which means he was good with his mouth. That's the story of William Jennings Bryan.